All right, we are live. What's going on, guys? Caleb and Jim here, and we have Ben on the line. And one of the things we do and like to talk about on Doors to Deals is just ways to invest on a passive front. And Ben, we had the opportunity to meet Ben at a conference a couple months ago. And Ben has a little bit different of an angle. He works in the construction industry. And I really think it's a good idea to just become well versed in all the different types of investment opportunities that you can. And his model's unique and it's really interesting. So, Ben, why don't we get into your background and let's get started on this, man.
Okay. So, like you said, I'm in the construction space right now, and I've been in it for about 10 years now, even though I'm pretty young. And it's evolved over time, the different business models. But one of the things that's started to emerge in the past couple of years, and that's forming this really incredible opportunity. And it's not totally unique to the construction space, but it's the first time construction's seen it, is about 60% of the industry is going to be passing retirement age in the next decade. And I have the figure pulled up somewhere. I believe it's about like 2.6 million construction companies in the US. And so roughly 60% of those will be ready to trade hands, sell, close down, whatever, over the next decade. And what we're trying to do is put together a private equity fund to go out and talk to these owners, because there's not much of a market on the smaller end of these companies right now, kind of under the $100 million mark. There are buyers, sometimes competitors, sometimes investors, a little bit of private equity, but normally it just gets sold to an employee or closed or given to a family member that doesn't want to run it. And so going in, buying it from these guys who are looking for a retirement path, and then putting in systems to scale it, because a lot of them suffer from stuff that every construction company has to deal with but doesn't have the resources to fix. Getting a few different companies in the same geographic area so that they can kind of work with each other. Like painting companies are almost always seasonal. A restoration company is busier in the winter, but they still need painting, drywall, all that work, carpentry. So get two in the same geographic region. The painting company doesn't have to fire all its people in winter. Restoration company doesn't have to find people in winter. It solves the problem. That's just an example. And once you have them wrangled together and you've scaled them up, putting them under one corporate umbrella and selling it up to a bigger private equity firm past that $100 million mark, where we're starting to see a lot more action, so to speak. Some of the bigger boys have started to get into the restoration world, like Blackstone is in ServPro, and I believe they're in ServiceMaster as well. And then like Tecta America was bought and sold twice by private equity firms in a 3-year window, and they're a $500 million roofing company. So that's kind of the business model in a nutshell right now.
Gotcha. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I got into this, oddly enough, when I was 13 years old, and started with just doing odd jobs, and then eventually it turned into a business, and then that turned into a larger business. When I was 17, I had about 40 guys that worked for me. We had hired them from high schools and colleges in the area, and it was super easy to recruit. That was the easiest I've ever had to find people. You just go up and like, hey, you want to make $20, $25 an hour? They're like, oh, yeah. And so,
all right, hold on. All right, you were 17. Yeah. Oh, you were 17 and you had 40 people working for you. What were you guys doing?
A little bit of everything at the time. Oddly enough, our original name, my brother thought of it, and because I got started when I was like 13, it's like, why don't you call yourselves the Handy Boys? And so, way back in the day, we were the Handy Boys. We had guys doing like landscaping, painting, some light carpentry stuff. We didn't do any like framing, but like fences. And then that kind of evolved. And when we first got started, our moms and dads would have to drop us off at job sites. And then we'd use the customers' tools and stuff like that because we had no money. And then like slowly but surely we got driver's licenses and equipment, and like now it's been a decade. And so here we are trying to buy larger companies and really make something.
And do you still have that company today?
No. We've changed names, and we have right now we kind of have like 5 brands under one umbrella. That's how we're operating. And so Like we do commercial roofing, residential roofing, like insurance restoration and insurance reconstruction, painting and remodeling right now. And so we've made brands for each one of those, and we're working on scaling those, but we don't have any like outside money right now. So it's just as money comes in, you get the next step and grow a little bit. But
and do you have a business partner in this?
No,
Just
that's
you?
something that it's hard to find like a good business partner, because a lot of people in the industry are they're not even operators. They're like tradesmen, they know how to do that trade, but they're not entrepreneurs, they're not operators, they're not technicians. And so I've never partnered with anyone.
Yeah, the construction industry, the small construction industry, is dominated by operators that typically have a 1, 2, or 3 man shop, and they struggle with the scaling.
It's plagued by the lack of professionalism and things like that.
So you guys have a lot in common. Caleb, you were swinging a hammer for your old man when you were like in your teens too, right?
Yeah, so I was on a roof at 7 years old, and the neighbors called the cops because they thought a kid was being slaved into working. It was our own personal house, and then through my whole teenage years, every summer day was spent working construction, and then from the time I was 17 till about 23, 24, I was swinging a hammer.
I think it's important. I think everyone should have to work construction for like 3 months. Just feel it, learn it.
It makes you appreciate other jobs for sure, because. Yep. So, I mean, I like today, like I have really bad allergies from how long I work construction, because I breathe in so much bad dust and things like that, because masks weren't like something I was told I needed to wear. So I have lung problems today because of working construction as a teenager. So I have so much respect for people that do that kind of work.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. And because the industry is lacking in some professionalism, a lot of them never kind of break past a certain level in their business because they're operators. They know how to do their trade really well. They don't know how to advertise. They don't know how to hire people, run people. They don't know any sort of interesting financing or how to get outside money and anything like that. So
I think it's interesting it's interesting you found a niche where, like, I keep hearing that 60% I've heard that stat so many times, that the tradesmen are about to retire, and it's like, who's going to fill those shoes? But you found a really good niche of hopefully being able to scale a business where there's going to be a massive void in the next 10 years.
Hey there, if you're looking to get the ultimate edge for your real estate investing company, go to doorstodeals.com/invest for more information. Just so you know, a high percentage of the people that we interview on this podcast are actually already Three Doors Network members. And our network members have a lot of extra resources. They have access to an online training vault with over 3 years worth of content in it. They have access to vendor savings like our Home Depot discount that's literally saved thousands of dollars for members. And we have a weekly group coaching call, and we have a lot of other great things as well as part of the Three Doors Network. So make sure that you check it out on doorstodeals.com/invest.
The tradesmen are about to retire, and it's like, who's going to fill those shoes? But you found a really good niche of hopefully being able to scale a business where there's going to be a massive void in the next 10 years.
There's going to be a huge void, especially since I'm going to have to find the source again so I can quote it. But for every 10 people leaving, about 1 is coming in. So that's a red flag. And a lot of these businesses have a lot of value, but because they have a hard time finding somewhere to sell them or someone to take them over, a lot of them just close. They don't even get transferred to family. They don't get transferred to friends. They're just like, all right, I'm ready to retire, sell these trucks, sell the materials I have in the warehouse, close this, and we're done. But they could be doing like $10 million a year and just close. It's ridiculous.
Yep. It's amazing. I love that you found a way to help those people retire too, because most of them, my dad is going to have to work till his back breaks. Like, he's literally never going to be able to get out and quit because because he's addicted to the grind, but B, because he doesn't have an exit strategy.
Yeah. And so, I mean, being able to help them out and get like a real retirement going. And we're not the only ones in that space. And so I've been looking for other people doing what we're trying to do as kind of like a case study, essentially. And it's been difficult because there's not many. There's only a couple people like in that smaller range trying to buy those companies. One of them is actually based out of Washington here. They're called Acquira. And I talked to the owner like 3-4 years ago, back when they were really small, and now he's too busy for me. I'm like, all right, okay, whatever. But what they do is help like Microsofties or anyone who's looking to buy a business as like a passive income and investment, and you have a little bit of money or can get SBA funding. They'll walk you through the whole process, help you implement systems and stuff like that. And where they got started is in that construction space. The owner of that, I think his name is Kylon, something like that, started a painting company in college and then opened some sort of, I think it was like a juice bar. I forget. I watched that video years ago. And now he's got this consulting company, and what they do is kind of consult for equity. So you get the funding, you buy the business, they get 30% for their efforts. Which is great for them. So,
being a 20-something that's in the business world that is obviously crushing it, maybe you don't face this, but I know I did at times where you have people like, oh, you're too young, or like, your age definitely can be a deterrent for people wanting to do business with you. What are some ways that you overcome that and beat that objection?
Well, there are two ways. In-house, we actually dealt with a lot of that, because when I hire people and try and get them to do things, sometimes they think they know better because they're younger. I mean, not younger, older. And so they don't want to listen to me. So recently I brought on this one guy. His name's Jay Piper, and he's got decades and decades of experience in the industry. He kind of looks like Colonel Sanders too. And I'll say something, and then he'll say the same thing. He'll reiterate it, but they trust him because he's older. He's done it. He's like, yeah, I've seen this. I've dealt with this. I've been through this. And so that's kind of helped in-house recently. I didn't realize I needed that, but we've had him on for a few months, and it's already made a huge difference. And then on the outside, I'm definitely young, but I feel like once I get to talk to people and kind of explain it, and they get to see who I am a little bit, it lowers that barrier.
Yeah, once you show them the experience or knowledge that you have.
How old are you now?
I'm 23.
You're 23. So, I mean, a decade of experience since the Handy Boy. Was it Handy Boy? Is that what you said?
Yep, back in the day. We had a picture on the website of a hand touching grass. That was
Before we go any further, I want to say congratulations on your success. It's doing what you've done at 23. You should be really, really proud of yourself. I'm sure you are, but not enough people probably tell you that, because it can be very tough in your early 20s being an entrepreneur.
Thank you. It is definitely very tough.
Yeah.
What blows me away about Ben was just like the awareness, like a lot of people to be 23 and kind of understand that like these private equity plays and the is kind of like the wave of now, like the entire business world shifting into similar models and structures like this, like, and just the general public really has no awareness of what's happening, whether it's dental offices getting bought up by bigger firms that then roll it into bigger firms. It's like these bigger Blackstone-esque entities, hedge funds are ultimately, beginning to buy up and gobble up everything. I mean, and on the real estate front, guys, there's $110 billion that was just raised, and by 3 funds, and these fund structures are predicting are going to end up owning about 40% of all single family real estate in the next 10 plus years.
Yep. And what I think is interesting in this space, and what I see a lot of in private equity in general, is some firms do a really good job with their acquisitions and they maintain that value in the company, and then others lose touch with what got that company to where it is. One of the great examples is that first company I brought up earlier, I think before the stream started. But Valentine Roofing got acquired, and the new team instantly put in, within the first year, which is kind of a mistake, like corporate rules. So they dropped everyone's commissions, they kind of flatlined salaries, they changed policies, and the company was profitable beforehand. They didn't need to do that at all. And now, like, pretty much the entire experienced management team that had been there for decades has quit or is planning on quitting and just looking for another job before they do. And so a lot of people in the space that are buying companies are having a problem with that. And it's going to be even worse in construction, where finding people is hard, finding professional people is even more difficult, and keeping them is important. So they're not going to be able to get them back. So when you buy them, being able to show that, like, you have that experience, you're there for their interests, you want to see them grow with the company and not have it turned into like a corporate hellhole that's going to actually fight to be profitable after you make your profitable improvements is something that a lot of the bigger guys are completely missing out on.
And then when you lose those people and you have to get new people, you lose tribal knowledge, you lose efficiencies, even though sometimes you may think you're creating them. There's a certain thing that I think goes with tribal knowledge that years of experience give by keeping people on.
Yep. Well, they were doing a great job. They were running, according to the guy I knew there, I've never seen their books officially, but they were running like a 15 to 20% net profit margin at a $30 million a year revenue, which for construction is like, that's pretty solid. If you can maintain that in the $30 to $100 million mark, you're doing great. A lot of the $100 million companies only make like a 5% margin. And so the fact that they kind of messed that up, I think is funny. I actually really wanted to buy Valentine because I knew that the owner, the second they doubled their revenue, got super hands off. He moved out of state and he stopped caring. I was like, this guy's about to sell. I should have this fund ready and buy this. And then he sold. And I told that to the guy I knew there who was telling me what was going on behind the doors. I was like, here's what's going to happen next.
That inside knowledge is going to help you out a lot.
Yeah.
That's cool. What are some other like issues, struggles maybe you run into being a 23-year-old in the business world?
Getting money. I mean, I started this whole thing with $9,000 that I took out of the I think I had something called a GET program, which is like your grandparents put money in when you're really young and it gets a little bit of interest for college. So I took that money out and bought some basic equipment, bought some advertising and stuff like that back in this current business. Was filed in January 2019, the one that I'm running right now. And so that's how I got this one started. And so because I've been running the Handy Boys for a while, but never really saved my money.
Yeah. So raising money, what are some ways maybe you're successful at raising money at your age?
I mean, there's a few different avenues you can take, but one of the hard things is when you're young, you don't have a lot of credit, and there's ways to get good credit and get business loans going, but it's a lot of kind of laying track to do that. And we're not there yet. We haven't gotten any sort of SBA loans or anything like that. So most of the money we've used has either come out of the company or I got a little bit of money from family after we'd been running for a while, but it wasn't like $1 million injection. It was like less than $100,000. And so that helps kind of get things to the next level. But one of the things that you can kind of do when you're like, let's say you start a company when you're 30, you've probably got 15 years of credit. You've got already financed a car, maybe even have like a house or something like that. Much easier to kind of get started on that, like an SBA loan or something like that. And so what I'm trying to do is kind of hop, skip, and a jump past that entirely and go straight to raising money from investors rather than raising money from a bank.
Love that. So raising money from investors. What are ways that if an investor wants to reach out to you, that they could reach out to you to talk to you more about this?
I mean, you could email me, you could call me. One of the things I need to work on a lot, and that helps in that world, is forming a personal brand and being like able to find someone on social media, being able to find someone on LinkedIn, all of that good stuff. And I haven't really done a lot of that yet. I've spent so much of my time kind of learning the industry, trying new things, because if there's something that looks profitable and that we can try, I mean, I'll hop on, make a logo, make a website, try it out, and just kind of dive headfirst into it to learn that section of the industry. But it's something you can do when you're on a smaller scale. It can be super expensive to jump into it if you're trying to hire an entire office just to start something. But because of that, I've been able to learn a wide variety. Yeah, I mean, if someone wanted to reach out, I'm on LinkedIn. You can just look up Ben Gunner to find me. And I don't know, maybe, do I post my phone number or something somewhere?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, my phone number is 425-205-8558. If someone texts me right now, I'll laugh.
We probably have 5 or 6 people watching on Facebook. We get a few live viewers. Any other questions from you, Jim?
No, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
So one last thing, if you could say where you'd be at in 5 years, like looking back, let's say you're watching this in 5 years, what do you think you've done? What have you accomplished? How far has your business come?
I mean, in 5 years, I'd like to have not just the first fund formed, but probably multiple, and have the kind of that business model being formed in multiple states, probably 6 or 7 states. And because the fund is on like a 6-year target for exiting all the companies, then we'll be trying to put together our first exit in 5 years. That's the goal.
Cool. Well, I look forward to seeing that happen. Thanks for coming on. I love learning about new strategies and private equities and things like that. And hopefully some young kid gets some inspiration from you, because you're a really inspirational person.
I mean, yeah, I hope some young people get inspiration. I wish that more of them would get into like a realistic business. I feel like a lot of young people are trying to be entrepreneurial these days, but they'll see like the Amazon FBA and drop shipping and all these different businesses that you can turn a profit in, but it's not tangible. You don't own anything. You've not built anything, So
it only works as hard as you do. Well, thanks, Ben. I appreciate you coming on today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great day.
That's a wrap, guys. For additional resources, go to doorstodeals.com. And don't forget, we're already generating over $186,000 per month in passive income for people in our world. And we're just getting started, and we can help you out as well. So if you want to grow your passive income, we have multiple options available. The first step is for us to get to know each other better. Give us a call or send us over a text message at 314-310-4886 to get started. And finally, go out, live your purpose, and above all else, go after your dreams. Till next time. Thanks for tuning into this show. For more episodes and resources that will unlock doors to deals, check out our website, doorstodeals.com.